Pastors, ministry leaders, I got a quick question for you, particularly if you pastor a small to medium-sized church. What is your relationship with live streaming? Do you do it? Do you understand it? Do you know the benefits of it? Well, stick around because in this next episode, I'm going to give you 7 benefits to live streaming on social media. What's going on, everybody? Glenn P. Brooks Jr. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I'm a coach, and I want to welcome you back to Bootstrapping Business and Ministry. Today, I'm really going to take my time and sort of settle in a little bit, specifically to talk to my local pastors. Having pastored for a number of years and retired from ministry, I know what it's like as a director of marketing for a local church that had 4 locations. What does it look like when you have to answer the question, what about live streaming, right? So when live streaming first came on the scene, it was really archaic, it was very expensive, and a lot of people really had problems with it and didn't want to do it. And the reason why, because quite frankly, for most churches, it was cost prohibitive. I remember when we first started planting some of the churches that we planted over the years, we would link them up by way of satellite, super expensive. Don't recommend it. It will bankrupt you if you're not careful. But as technology kept growing and going, the opportunities got cheaper because of the internet and because of live streaming. Well, today, there's really no reason why you should not at least consider live streaming for your church services. And I'm going to give you 7 benefits as to why you need to be thinking about this option. We planted churches, particularly in the beginning, in the Northeast section of the country. So one of the things we always constantly was faced with is snowstorms or really, really inclement weather in the winter. And so you would have attendance that would go up and down. And let's just be honest, churches and pastors, that's going to affect the bottom line. It affects the giving. It also affects your ability to do ministry, your ability to connect to people. What would it look like if you considered a live streaming option, but not just putting a camera up or not just necessarily going live, but really think through the strategy of how that could help you long term and to do that consistently. Well, today I'm going to give you 7 benefits of live streaming your church service. And number 1, I want you to understand this fundamentally. I want you to write this down, put it in the chat. If you're on with us right now, put it in the chat. Number 1 reason is to engage the seekers. And here's what we know to be true. Pastors, let's just be honest. Listen, we are in the business of providing a service to people who are seeking the gospel, right? And so if there are people who are in your community, people who are in your local area, they are seeking, maybe they're moving to your area. I live in the Virginia Beach corridor of what we call it Hampton Roads, that section of Virginia, which comprises of 7 cities, Norfolk and Suffolk and Portsmouth and Newport News and Virginia Beach and Chesapeake and Hampton. Well, it's a big military town. There are people constantly coming and going. And as a result of that, there are people, believers, who are looking for churches to go to. And oftentimes, particularly in this day and age, they're going to gravitate towards social media. So if you don't have a really good presence and a consistent presence on social media, there are seekers who are looking for you who won't find you because you're not on social media. Number 2, I want you to think through that a benefit for going live and doing live streaming, guys, simply is really to increase the attendance at the local building. Let's talk about that a little bit. I'm in town for a conference. Maybe the conference goes, Thursday to Monday. I'm a believer. I want to go to church. But because you have a live streaming presence, I begin to search for churches in the area. And then all of a sudden I noticed an old event. Maybe it was on YouTube because there's a replay there, and I get a chance to see how you guys worship. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this is just like home. Let me go visit them on Sunday morning. So as much as many pastors often shy away from live streaming, because I get it. The old school mindset says, well, they're not going to come to the church if they can see it online. That's true, and it's not true. There are people who won't come. We're going to talk about that in a second. But for the ones that will, there is no better way of giving them a taste as to what they can expect beforehand through live streaming. So I want you, and even though we're talking about live, you got to remember everything that you do live is going to be recorded, and so they can see it in replay. So in essence, they will see a live replay. So they will get an opportunity to see what that experience looks like. So we said number one is to engage the seekers, people who are looking for you. This is a way that you can engage them. Number two is to actually increase the attendance to the local church. Number three, I want you to put this in the chat, is to reach the remote. I remember as a young youth pastor, there were times where kids would grow up and they would go on to college, as kids do. But one of the neat things is that at that particular time when I was in youth ministry, it was right at the time where social media was coming on board. I remember they would always say, hey, can you put us on the list to get a CD or a DVD of the service? Well, today, now that social media has very much evolved, they're not asking for DVDs. They're not asking for CDs. They're not asking for cassettes. I'm sorry. What they will do, though, is that they will sit and they will check out their personal church online live on a Sunday while they are abroad. Be it that they are at college, be it that they're traveling abroad, you also have the opportunity to touch the people who've moved away. I just told you earlier, I live in a big military town. There are transitions going and coming, people coming and going on a regular basis. You may have a family that comes to your church. They're there for 3 years. They are plugged in. They're really a part of the fabric of your local church. Maybe they've rised in leadership and all that kind of stuff. And they're really bought into the message and how it is that you guys bring ministry to the table. But then all of a sudden they get deployed. All of a sudden the job decides to move them to the other side of the country. Can I tell you that live streaming will keep that person connected to your local church? And then oftentimes what that does is it keeps them connected through prayer. It keeps them connected through their finances. They want to support what it is that you're doing because they're in touch with it. Y'all know the saying, out of sight, out of mind. Well, that applies if you're not on social media doing some sort of consistent live streaming. So we said that the 7 benefits of live streaming are these. Number 1, engage your seekers. Number 2, increase the attendance to the building. Number 3, reach the remote, those college students or maybe those families who've moved away. And number 4, I'm going to say it because not everybody's going to say it, but having a live streaming presence will actually increase your giving. Let me tell you why. When people tune in live, they already understand they're not in the building. They get that. Obviously, they're in there wherever they are, on their phone, in their car, at the house, wherever the case may be. They may be at a sporting event for their kids. But if they are connected to what it is that you are sharing and they're bought into the message, here's what I know about people. They want to support. And here's what I know, that if you've thought through from a strategy perspective, how will you address that? Now, you don't have to be annoying about it. You don't have to be selling about it, but you absolutely can create a link on your page that pops up every so often that says, hey, if you're enjoying the message and if you want to help us do A, B, C, D, or E, click the donation button below and we'll be happy to take your tax-free donation in order to continue to do what it is that God's called us to do. Does that make sense? You don't have to actually say anything or break in message as a pastor or as a speaker to say anything to it. It can all be done on the screen. There's all kinds of apps that will interface with your live stream. Be Live is one of them. Ecamm is another one. These are platforms that I use to be able to scroll things across the bottom of the screen and all that sort of stuff. So there are ways for you to engage an audience and direct them rather in order to give and have a place for them to go to if it's set up. But if you're not live streaming, here's what's happening. You will miss that opportunity. And I'm going to suggest this as well. From where we're from in the upper northeast section of the country, it's nothing for a blizzard to shut you down on a Sunday morning. It's nothing for a severe rainstorm to shut you down on a Sunday morning. It's nothing for some sort of health outbreak to shut you down on a Sunday morning. Does that mean ministry should stop? Does that mean that the giving should go down? No. Actually, if you're already pre-prepared and you're doing that, you probably won't see that much of a dip. You may see a dip in attendance, but now you'll be able to make it up because everybody is home for this reason. I remember one time that it was going to be, I want to say they were calling for like 12 inches of snow in the DC area. And guys, let me tell you something. We knew about that 4 days out. And I remember us putting together a campaign and we were saying, come to church in your pajamas virtually. And we promoted that thing from Wednesday on because we knew it was coming. They were telling the city, listen, buckle down, hunker down. The storm is going to hit Friday night. It's going to continue through the weekend. Everybody is closing schools, closing churches, closing, but we got ahead of it. And as a result of that, we had a massive amount of participation online. And quite frankly, the giving didn't dip nearly as much because you were prepared. You were ready. You knew what was going to happen before it happened. Now, obviously, there are things that just pop up and you can't factor for that if you're not already on a live stream. But if you already have a presence, you can probably factor for even the emergency. So number 4 would be increasing your giving. Number 5 would be capturing the moment. There are certain specific things that you may do uniquely on a particular Sunday. Let's call it a baby dedication. On a Sunday morning, maybe it's the first of the month, second Sunday of the month, and you do a baby dedication. But here's the thing. Grandma who lives in California can't make the trip, but she sure would love to see her grandbaby dedicated. Wouldn't it be super dope and super amazing for her to be able to tune in live? And then you capture that moment because it's being recorded. And now that moment of her grandbaby being dedicated lives forever because now it's living in replay. Does that make sense? So I want you guys to think out the box and think further than today and think about what would it look like to capture a moment because you are live streaming. Number 6 would be something that I want to spend a little bit of time and that is increase or improve accessibility. Put that in the chat. To improve your accessibility. Over 81% of the population has at least one social media account. If you want to reach your audience, whatever age they are, you must meet them where they are. Guys, let me just say this. I'm 53 years old. I understand it. I remember when social media came in 2004. My daughter was in college and I could not wrap my mind around why in the world would people tell all their business and do a vlog and actually document it along the way. I don't need to know what you're eating. I don't need to know. You understand? All of us had that mindset. Here's what I know. It didn't matter what we thought. It was here to stay. And now some 15 years later almost, we're here doing business online in a way that it has never happened before. People are buying houses and cars and you name it, all online, sight unseen. Well, here's the challenge. I think that we're missing an opportunity in local churches to be able to improve our accessibility. If God has placed a unique message in your mouth, if God has placed a unique calling on your heart, if God is doing something super amazing in your local area, man, it sure would be nice to be able to increase the accessibility for people to be able to connect to it because you are live streaming. You may have a person from Tupelo, Mississippi that will never visit New York. They can be a part of what it is that you're doing in their presence, in their prayers, in their finances, because they are accessible to you because they can count on that live stream week after week after week. The last thing, guys, if you're ready for number 7, put a number 7 in the chat. Put a number 7 in the chat if you're ready. Okay, you ready? Let's go. Number 7, I want you to understand that when you go live and you have a consistent presence on live streaming, it allows you to strengthen your community. Say that with me. Strengthen my community. Let me help you guys understand. Social media is a tool. Live streaming is a tool. There are parts of our community that need to be encouraged. Hope needs to be spoken to, and they need to see that it is possible for a thing to happen and to be encouraged. I believe that by live streaming, you can create certain events online that are literally designed to strengthen a community. Let's say, for instance, in the wake of a public crisis, let's say it's a flood, and you decide to, as a local church, go live and do a live streaming event where you are raising funds to be able to better help your community. And maybe you're creating or coordinating drop-off points for what it is that you need to do in terms of providing health, strength, and consideration for your community. Live streaming makes it very, very easy to do that when you're already set up. Listen, if you are someone that's needing that kind of service, in the MAPS Masterclass, we have all kinds of contributors that come in and contribute, people who know how to build these platforms, people who know how to help you tweak what it is that you've got. People can help you bootstrap your way to success by spending very little. I'd love to connect you with those people. If you have any needs in that regard, just put it in the chat. Let me know. I'll reach out to you, because at the end of the day, here's what I know to be true, guys. We all need some help. Y'all be good, and we'll see you on the next episode. Hey guys, if this episode and these videos have been a blessing to you, here's what I want you to consider. Click the link, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so that you can get the notifications when we go live every Wednesday. We're also live every Saturday morning for Breakfast with the Brookses with my wife and I. We certainly would love to have you. Just click the link, subscribe to the channel. You won't miss a thing. And at the end of the day, here's what we all know to be true, guys. We all need some help. Y'all be good. Let's talk soon.